introduction of myself, and that's their problem, not mine. My name is Gail Gillingham Wylie. I come from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and I'm a family therapist. So I work with Acute in a much different way than a lot of other people do. I have been on an incredible journey in life. It started in the late 80s after my children were in high school, when I was hired by a psychologist to work at a job I did not apply for and I did not know anything about. I had a bachelor's in psychology at the time, and this psychologist heard about me and hired me to be a group home supervisor in a home for autistic adults. And it's taken me from there to sitting in front of you here today. The organization I worked for was one of the most abusive places I've ever been in my life. If you can think of a kind of abuse, I saw it happening. I complained continuously until finally they fired me for not keeping my mouth shut. And so I spent the next 5 years of my life shutting them down in Alberta, and the rest of my life looking for answers for the people in Alberta who with autism so that we can be helpful to them instead of abusive. In 1993, I ended up on CBC national television, and we did an investigative journalism piece on the place I was working at, and we successfully closed them down, except for 11 of the adults whose parents chose to leave them with the psychologist who was so abusive. 2 months later, one of them died. And that was the end of that organization. But it was a real eye-opener for me in the fact that I saw how desperate their situation is, and I discovered a people that I love in a way I have no idea why. And so since the late 80s, I have been on a search for what we can do to help people with autism. I very quickly learned that the best thing to do is to listen to them. Don't listen to the parents. Don't listen to the scientists. Don't listen to the doctors. Don't listen to the educators. Listen to the people with autism and you can figure out what's going on with them. In 1995, my first book was published. I still think there's a couple of copies out there, called Autism Handled with Care. And it is a book about using the quotes of people with autism. Oh, this is the bad microphone? Better? Maybe I'm too close. How do you turn them on? There it is. Sorry. Is this better? Okay, I'll try to keep it a little bit away. I have to admit, in all of the speaking I've done, I've never spoken in a microphone like this that I actually had to hold. It was always taped to my shirt, and it's much easier that way. Anyway, my first book, which is about what the adults with autism taught me about the sensory system, was published in 1995, and it is the very first book in the world that was published. And it was written by an author who listened to many people with autism. I couldn't believe it was possible. In 1943, Kanner developed the definition of autism, and it took from 1943 to 1995 for anyone to listen to them. It didn't make sense to me. That book spread around the world, and the adults came to me. And so instead of just finding what I could through research and stuff, now I had adults arriving on my doorstep, sharing more. And I got manuscripts, and I got letters, and so on, and they taught me more and more and more over the years. In 2004, a movie came out, What the Bleep Do We Know? And the adults with autism started coming to me with a message, you have to see this movie. By that time, I knew they are probably the most intelligent people in the world. And because I listened to them, I went to the movie with my husband. And I sat and watched it because it's about quantum physics, right? And I said, what am I doing here? Now, I had letters, I had emails, I had telephone calls. I mean, people were coming over and over again, you have to watch this movie. And I sat through the movie and said, well, I know why they like it. They're smart enough to understand it. But why am I here? A few months later, someone told me about the QXCI. And it just came together. That's where I needed to be. And that's how I got involved in the world that we are all involved in. I got my skill in 2005 from Global Quantum Quest in the United States. I feel very, very fortunate that all of my beginning teaching was about how to follow the lead of the skill. Now, not how to walk in with a protocol and do step by step. It was all about how to follow. What is the skill telling you? Where are we going next? I had a lot of clients really fast because I had a lot of clients with autism, right? And a lot of parents that trusted me. And I saw an immediate decrease in the amount of anxiety that they were feeling. But I didn't see any change in the autism. And so as time went on, I thought, well, this is a great stress relief, and in Canada, guess what? That's what we get to use it for. And I had families that were totally delighted with the work I was doing because finally they could celebrate Christmas, they could go visit relatives and so on without having meltdowns all the time. But I wasn't seeing change in autism. I talked to many skill practitioners who said, oh yes, it works for autism. But then when I looked at their clients, I saw a change in anxiety. I did not see a change in autism. In 2007, that all changed. I was working with a man in San Francisco, subspace. His mother owns a skill. He does not speak, he only types. But he does type so he can tell us what was going on. When I started working with him, I was going to teach his mother how to work, and he said no. He much preferred me to work from Edmonton to San Francisco because the frequencies were too strong if Mom hooked him to the scale, and the frequencies were even too strong if he was in the same room as the scale. So we worked effectively from Edmonton to San Francisco. Metabolism had come up. If you look on time therapies, you work on it 10 times in a row, and that's what I was doing, 10 weeks in a row. And I worked on him on Friday, Tuesday, Valentine's Day, 45 years old, never spoken a word in his life. He walked into his mother's kitchen and said, I love you, Mom. And I knew I'd done something very important. So I spent the next year trying to figure out what the hell I did. I got all the adults I could to volunteer. I worked on them, and believe me, their metabolism, I did a heck of a job on it. Nothing changed for any of them. And so I finally went through what I'd done in that session, what was happening in the world, and so on. And I realized that I had worked on viruses. And so I tried that. I developed a protocol based on viruses. And the first child I did it to in 2008, January 2008, 8-year-old boy, spoke one word at a time, never initiated speech. So in other words, if he came into my office, his mother would say hello to Gail, and he would say hello, but he wouldn't do it on his own, right? Never talked more than one word at a time, never asked a question, never did anything else. I did the protocol on him. And during the protocol, his mother had to go to the bathroom. I'm sitting working on the computer. He's watching a movie about the ocean on the television in front of him, because you got to keep their minds busy. If you don't do that, you're going to have trouble. And he's watching this movie, and I hear, Gail, turn around, you've got to turn around. And so I turned around. He's an 8-year-old boy. The walruses were farting. Typical 8-year-old humor. Farting, you know, gas coming out. And from that time, I mean, he talked from that time. He went to school, and he was able to tell his teachers what he was doing and so on. So I had developed a very exciting thing. I had achieved what I was working for. I spent a lot of time in the beginning testing it on other people and finding it worked for everyone, and offering to share it with the world. We had 25 therapists come into my office, and we did a gift, a circle gift, where I gave them my protocol, they gave their time to learn the protocol, and the autistic people gave their bodies to do the research. And we all had the gift going. And in one weekend, we cleared 25 people of autism. And then we realized we had a problem. Although we could clear the autism with the protocol, nobody knew what else to do. And nobody knew how to interact with autistic people, and so on. I offered it to other people in the world, and people took it for free. And I found horrible things were happening. They were going out and developing internet courses based on about autism, based on my protocol, and other stuff they gathered from the internet. They knew nothing about autism, but they were using it to make money. Other people would phone me and say, I've got your protocol, somebody gave it to me, and it doesn't work. And they go and do all kinds of things to these autistic people because they weren't looking like the therapist thought the autistic person should look after being cleared. And so then I developed a 5-day program where I go in and I teach what is autism before I will share the protocol. And I've been doing this around the world ever since. And we've had many of them, and they've been very successful, and so on. And so they phone me up and ask me, can you teach the autism protocol? I can guarantee you, I cannot do it for you in an hour and a half. It doesn't work. And so I'm not going to be doing that today, but I'm going to be sharing some things about autism, and I'm going to be sharing the tools that I use, not only for my autistic clients, but for all the clients that come into my office. Because in all reality, what I've discovered is the autism protocol works for any autoimmune condition out there. It's not about autism, it's about the autoimmune system. And so you can use it for anything. The other thing I've learned is that by following the lead of the skill, we can almost take on anything. And it's really exciting, and so that's what I'm really going to be working on. And I hope you don't mind. If you do, I guess you can leave. That's up to you. Now, to learn about autism, I have the books outside. Now, I think most of them might be gone, but Just So Happy. Can you hold it up? This one is the story. It has everything that you need to know about autism, and it includes the skill. So if you want to have a book about this from me, that's the best book to get, okay? So we're going to go on here and look at what I do. And I am not doing well. Holy camoli. I'm going to need someone to come up here and push buttons. Okay. I am responsible. Every time we put a new client on our thing, we ask that question as we do the SOC panel. Are you responsible for yourself? And our clients are supposed to be 10, right? Or are they? Are they supposed to be 5 and so on? I believe that one of the biggest things the SKIO has taught me is I am responsible for myself, only myself. I'm not responsible for my clients. I will share the SKIO with them, but I am not responsible for making the decisions. The SKIO is an incredible device in the fact that it works with the unconscious of the client, and it will tell us where to go if we listen to it. And that is their body telling us what we need. So if I walk in there with my assumptions, I can screw it all up. But in the same way, where's this? Okay. I am also responsible for my client. This is Marcus. He's one of my little autistic children. He came to me at 2 3/4, shortly after he was diagnosed with autism. And he's been coming to me ever since. By the time he was 3, he started talking. And he would come into our office. We had a long hallway, and he'd be running down the hallway yelling, "Yippee!" as he ran to the chair. And he'd get up in the chair and put his arms and hands out for his, arms and feet out for his parents to hook him up and so on. When he was about 3 1/2, he could say the alphabet from one end to the other, both frontwards and backwards. I dare say many of you can't do that. By the time he was 4, he was reading. We have a television screen for the kids to watch in the office, and he was reading off the television. I've got videos of it. He got involved in a regular school. He's been in a regular school till grade 6. He's going to be going into junior high school next year in Canada. The special ed people went and assessed him to see where they want to put him. They gave him an IQ of 20. All they want to teach him is daily living skills from now on. He has an iPad and an iPhone. And he puts them both on the table, and he turns on Angry Birds on both of them, and he can actually play the whole Angry Birds game with 2 things at the same time and have the angles perfect on both machines at the same time by touching them together. This is not a kid who has an IQ of 20. But when you work with an autistic person and you think they are mentally retarded, I can guarantee you they're going to prove it. They will do exactly what you think. And that's one of the biggest things you need to know about them. They give you what you give them. And so I am responsible for him because I want this kind of stuff to stop. Next. How do we do this? Enter, right? Yeah. The next thing that I think that we really must be aware about is that we are responsible for the SKIO. All of us have come into this in a different way. To me, it is the most incredible gift in the world. I was so thankful for Alexandra this morning talking about conventional medicine versus this. And I think we all have to realize that this is a new world. And if we're going to have a new world, we have to do it in a different way. We cannot rely on conventional medicine to accept the SKIO. We cannot use all of the methods of conventional medicine to prove that the SKIO is working. It's not going to work. We have to start a new world. And we have to be careful about what we say and what we do. I could point out a lot of things that I don't think have been right in this field for a while, but I'm not going to, because I think we have to take responsibility for ourselves and to look in the mirror and say, what am I doing positively to make sure that this is the tool of the future? Each of us have to do that. I fully believe that we have a world that is about to blow up on us in many ways, and this scale is going to be far, far more important. The fact that we can do subspace anywhere in the world is, to me, incredible. The fact that we don't really need the box, which is why I'm not working with the box today, is incredible, because this is power. This is the future, and this is what we each have to take responsibility for. Now I'm going to show you some of the gifts, just a couple of them, to show you what we can do. This is Rett's disease. Rett's disease is a kind of autism. Only girls get it. They get it around they start developing it around age 4, and gradually their neurological body quits working. And so in the beginning, they're doing good, and they gradually deteriorate till they're about 15. Very few of them live beyond 15. This is my friend Nicolette at age 12. She was sent home from the hospital to her parents, and they were told to prepare for her death. Rett's had taken everything from her. This is Nicolette a year later, after the skill. That's what we can do. Isn't that wonderful? Nicolette is now 23 years old. She has proved the doctors wrong. Red skin syndrome. I don't know if many of you know about this. This is an absolutely horrendous thing that's going on because of conventional medicine. And if you don't have anybody to work with, go out and find a few red-skinned parents, because they're desperate. They're absolutely desperate for answers. This is what it looks like. This little girl had eczema at birth. They put her on cortisone. It helped. They took the cortisone off. The eczema came back. They put her on more cortisone. And it got worse and worse and worse until her whole body was covered in these red scabs. They took her into the Toronto Sick Children's Hospital just before these pictures were taken, in desperation, because the poor kid is in agony all of the time. And they wanted to put her on cortisone. The mother refused. Social services stepped in and took the child away from the mother because the mother was not following the medical advice. Mother snuck into the hospital and kidnapped her own child. She heard about me. I started working on her. And that's what we can do with the scale. We do have the answer. I think I did about 6 treatments on her. Basically, this is a child that was born with herpes. It was herpes that was causing the eczema. And there's going to be something different with red skin syndrome with all of them, but it's just a fascinating thing. Now I'm going to move on a little bit to family therapy and some tools that I use, because I think they're very simple and they're very powerful. One of the things that comes up on the scale often is a need for self-awareness. And so this is the tool I use for self-awareness. This is the model of self. It was developed by William James in 1890. It is published in his book in 1906. And it kind of disappeared from view because, of course, Freud was the most popular psychologist of the time, and I think we really missed the boat when we didn't listen to William James. I discovered this in 1993 when I left my first husband, and my whole world was falling apart, and this model made sense to me at the time. So this is what William James says about the self. A man's self is the total of all that he can call his. Not only his body and his physical powers, but also his clothes, his home, his wife, his children, his ancestors and friends, his reputation and works, his land and horses and yacht and bank account. All these things give him the same emotions. If they wax and prosper, he feels triumphant. If they dwindle and die away, he feels cast down. Not necessarily the same for each thing, but much in the same way for all. So this is the model of any person in the world. And all you got to do is take out a piece of paper and draw 4 circles. The center circle is the spirit. The next circle is the mind. And what the mind is, the spirit is like the soul, the life force, you know, that thing that is us who is alive and that you see is gone when the body is dead, right? The mind is everything about us that you can't measure, that there's no way to measure. So basically it's your emotions, it's your memories, it's your values, it's your beliefs, all of that stuff. We all know it's there. But there's no way to take out a tape measure and actually measure it. The next circle is the social self. And the social self is the picture that every person that knows you in the world has of you. So you are not in your social self. You are in all of the social selves out there. But everyone else is in your social self. And the last of the circles, whoops, come on, baby. Oh, I think I can do it this way, is the material self. And the material self is everything about you that can be measured. So basically, it's your house, it's your car, it's your kids, it's your job, it's your height and your weight and your health and all of those things. If it can be measured, it's in the material self. And notice that the social self is closer to the middle than your material self. So in other words, other people's expectations of us have a bigger power over us than the rest of the stuff. Now, after I read this and after I started studying it, I added another one, which I call the lifeline. And what the lifeline does is it connects the spirit, the mind, the social self, and the material self. If you are on your lifeline, you are doing well. And I think all of our goals is to do that, to reach the lifeline. However, we don't live there. There's also a compass, and that shows us where we live. And the compass is constantly moving. And when it's moving, we are not on our lifeline, and we are expending energy in ways that we shouldn't be, right? And most of the time, this energy is being expended because somebody's picture of us is not the true person, right? And so if you're on your lifeline, you are going to be successful. If you're living like this, you're going to be depressed because you are not in contact with who you truly are and you are meeting the needs of others. Homeostasis, resistance to change. The body wants to stay the same. And so we do not have homeostasis in the body in the way that we want with health. We have homeostasis in the way that our body wants to resist change. It wants to stay the same. So let's talk to a person who smokes. They have a certain nicotine level in their body. If that nicotine level goes down, what happens? They need another cigarette to put the nicotine level where it's supposed to be. That's homeostasis, being where without change. However, change is inevitable. It is constantly happening. Nothing is permanent in this world except change when you get right down to it. Nothing stays the same. And nothing comes up more frequently on the scale than resistance to change, right? So when you go back to the model of self, you have to realize that the spirit is a solid core. It never changes. It's who you truly are. And the other three circles are constantly changing. When I left my husband, I lost all three circles. And you're going to be working with clients that this has happened to. All three circles were gone in an instant, right? I no longer had my job. I no longer had my home. I no longer had my friends because they thought I was this wife that would, stay with him forever sort of idea. They didn't know what was going on. I didn't have my children. I didn't have my family. I didn't have anything. On the outer core to the inner, the closer you get to the spirit, the harder it is to accept change. And so for me, my beliefs in monogamy, my beliefs in family, my beliefs in when I made that promise to stay with him till death do part were far more powerful than the fact I didn't have a job anymore, right? And you have to understand this about people too, that if you're going to expect them to change at a mind level, it's going to be extremely difficult. And so that's what we talk about when we're talking about self-awareness in the office is that it's hard, and it's going to be harder if it's at a mind level. Change leads to grief. Whoops, backspace. And I hope you can read this yourselves, so I don't have to read the whole thing. But understand that change is brutally painful to the self. It really hurts. And so when we're looking at the model of self, we're looking at grief, and it's going to be affecting every one of your clients in some way or another. As a family therapist, before I got involved in the skill and as I continue, the amount of trauma that children experience when they lose a sibling is absolutely devastating, and they carry that throughout their lives. And if you understand that and can talk about it, they can release it, right? However, people don't do that. Because the truth of the matter is, if a child loses a sibling, he also loses his mother and his father because they are lost in grief, right? And these are all powerful things that we have to pay attention to. What can we do? Did everybody read it? Or take pictures or do whatever you want? The most powerful thing that we can do, because we are taking responsibility for ourselves, and letting them take responsibility for themselves, is to acknowledge the pain. I acknowledge your pain. I am here with you. I am not here for you. I am not going to fix you. I'm not going to change anything. I am just right here beside you. And that is what our job is as scale therapists, to be beside them. If you want to read more about this, I do have a book called In Search of Self. I put it out back in the days when e-books had just come out and we decided we wouldn't waste paper. I think it was a mistake. I believe now that we should have real paper books, but I have, if you're interested in obtaining In Search of Self, I have the cards with the address where you can order it from the internet. And if you do get a copy of it, you can actually print out the book and put it in a binder. You can have a paper book. We will probably be publishing it in the future, but right now it's only on an ebook. The next thing I want to talk about is the reservoir of anxiety. This concept was developed by a man with autism named Frank Stein, and he has given me permission to use it. And I think it's a very important thing for us as therapists too. And this is what he says. The reservoir of anxiety is a reservoir within us that builds up and goes down as we experience stress. So the more stress we experience, the more we fill our reservoir. In the world of autism, this is extremely important because there are so many things filling the reservoir. However, all of us have these reservoirs, and all of us will fill or lower. And it's a really great tool for talking to people about where is your reservoir right now. As an example, these are the many things that we have found with autism. Lack of understanding and acceptance is huge, absolutely huge. Their emotions, they feel them at a much higher level than we do. Memories, I tell you, these guys have memories of their birth process. They have memories of every child they went to kindergarten with, and they can describe the room in detail, even if they're 50 years old. Their memories are way beyond us, and if those are traumatic memories, you're going to have problems. When I was working on the farm, we had one man who at 24 went absolutely nuts when another man came to apply for a job. I don't think it was the man who was the problem. I think it was the memory that that man brought with him, whether it was his appearance, whether it was his smell, or so on. But we couldn't hire him, just watching the autistic man's response. I went into another home for the first time with a man who had been taken away from his parents when he was a child, because of course, back in the 60s and 70s, we removed the autistic children from the homes to protect them from their cold parents. I walked in the house, he ripped my clothes off me. I had to leave because I looked like the person who had taken him away. And we've got to respect those things because their memories are so good. Boredom. They have these busy brains. I tell you, if you've ever sat down in a conversation with 5 people with autism, there's no way you're going to keep up because they go bang, 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 bang from one topic to another because one thing triggers another to another. And so if we put them in an environment where they're bored, like sitting in a SKIO office for an hour, hooked to a SKIO without something to fill that mind, you're going to have problems. So you've got to keep them busy. Physiological responses. Hunger, thirst, lack of sleep, pain, the need to go to the bathroom, and so on. Toxicity, sensory overload. Their sensory systems work at a much, much higher level than ours. Allergies, gastrointestinal distress, immune dysfunction, and viruses. And the reason that you need to know about autism before you start working with them is when we do the protocol, we take out the viruses. That's all. We don't take out the rest of that stuff. And so you need to know that you're going to have to work with that to lower their thing. Now, of course, none of this comes in nice little lines. If you live in the world of autism, you find all these people that are going to find the one answer to the anxiety today. There isn't one answer. It's all mixed together like a good little stew, and you can't figure out the one. And if it overflows, they have a meltdown. What does a meltdown look like? Tantrum? Aggression? What a meltdown really is a panic anxiety attack. For us people who are living at a lower level, we call it that. Panic anxiety attack. For autistic people, it is called a lot of nasty words. And people blame them for it. The main goal for an autistic individual living in our world is to avoid a meltdown. And they will do anything to avoid it. And so they use coping skills. What are the coping skills? Withdrawal. They leave. They're the runners. I had one young man who was going to high school and, of course, learning his daily living skills. And he would run away and they'd yell, "He's running again." Why? He was protecting himself. They also do withdrawal by turning off their sensory system, by taking off all their clothes. They walk around in the nude because then they don't have to feel the tactile. They turn off the lights on you. They turn off the music, and so on. It's withdrawal. Repetitive behaviors. Rocking, so on. A repetitive behavior builds up endorphins. And in building up endorphins, it lowers the pain, lowers the pain in the body. We all do it, every one of us. We rock our babies for a reason. It calms them down. It builds up endorphins. And so the only thing that's different with autism and repetitive behaviors is they have to do them more and they have to do them to extreme because they are an extreme. Sensory overload. If it's way too much for them, they will actually go the other direction and they will do something to themselves to overload their sensory system. If you do this, it will shut it down and you will not feel anything, you will not hear anything, you will not see anything. And so they will look directly into bright lights. They will do spinning and look into the spinnings to get the movement. They will bite themselves or scratch themselves or cut themselves and so on. So by overloading their sensory system, they put themselves into shutdown. Retreating into fantasy, we can also call it daydream. They're really good at it, and if you want to hear the stories from them about the fantasies that they create, it's just amazing. Focusing on one activity or subject, they're extremely good at this. And actually, it's the one thing that we could really use in the marketplace and have them get jobs. But people have a tendency to ignore it because it's not focusing on what they want. But they're really good at this, and it does block them from the world. And the last one is chemicals. And that's the one we have a tendency to use. Tobacco, alcohol, drugs, chocolate, so on. Food, you know. And we can use chemicals to do it. So basically, when you look at your clients and they're doing these kind of things, probably the last one is the one that you're going to be seeing more of, is what they're doing is bringing down their stress level. We cannot expect anyone to walk into our office and give up their coping skills before we start treating them. And I have talked to a number of therapists who tell me, until he stops taking his medication, I'm not going to do anything. Until he stops smoking, I'm not going to work on him. How can we help them if we take away their coping skill first? What we need to do is lower their stress, which the SKIO does wonderfully, and then they can do it themselves. Now we have to know about the two types of stress and anxiety and teach our clients what this is. The first one is acute. Acute anxiety is real anxiety. There's no food in the cupboard to feed my children. A storm is coming and it's going to destroy my city. These are real things that are happening. In Syria right now, the bombs are falling. This is real acute anxiety. However, most of us don't live in a world of that kind of anxiety. We live in chronic anxiety. And chronic anxiety is all the things that we've got in our mind going on that that makes us anxious. The storm might come. Trump might get elected. And so on, you know. There's a lot of things that we can make up. Most of them based on something that's either happened in the past or that we've heard about and we don't want to happen to us. But we have to make it clear with our clients that what are we really dealing with? Because when there's acute anxiety, we have to find an answer. How do we feed a family if we don't have any food? In Canada, you go to the food bank. But there are other answers out there, right? However, if I'm sitting here thinking a chronic thing that, what if I run out of food? We have to just stop thinking about that and celebrate the fact that we do have food, sort of idea. And you really have to define these two things for your clients. Attribution. What are you basing your decisions on? And this is one thing that I find really becomes a problem in the skill, because people walk in here with their belief systems and start treating people based on their belief system instead of what is actually coming up. So for example, I've talked to a number of dentists who can tell me without a blink of an eye that the skill is an absolutely amazing device. Except the dental program. It doesn't work. Because you need me as a dentist to have that work, right? And the same can go with any other thing, so that people rely on what they believe, not on what is really happening. And you can have a tendency when someone comes in to look at them and say, oh, well, that's cancer, and I treated that last week like this, so I'll do it again. And it doesn't work. As an example, I was just in Ireland and I worked on one of my husband's relatives. He sat down and told me about the pain in his knee, and I have a pain in my knee, and my problem is a bacterial infection, and my first assumption was it's a bacterial infection. It wasn't. It was a combination of an injury and gout. One of the beliefs that a lot of people have is the fallacy of the herxheimer reaction. And people talk about this as other words as a healing crisis, detox reaction, die-off syndrome, and so on. When I work with autism and we work with multiples of viruses and such, people say, well, aren't they going to have a healing crisis? Why aren't your clients having a healing crisis? And I hear a lot of people who have skills say, oh, well, it's just a healing crisis. It's not. We cannot play with the pathogens. If we tease them, they are going to get angry, and they are going to release toxins into the body. So you have to know that you have killed the pathogens, or leave them alone. Don't do a half-assed job about it. I went to Ontario and did an autism workshop, and a woman there had her son, and she thought he might have autism, and yes, he came up with it. She had the skill for 2 years before this workshop. She had been working on viruses every week on her son since she got the skill. So for 2 weeks, she had been doing the 5-minute autofocus SAP on viruses. In the autism protocol, we find the viruses, we kill them, we do 9-minute SAPs until they're dead. We check on the yes/no panel if they're dead or not before we go on. We do not fool around with this stuff. Everyone in the group was done by 4 in the afternoon with their viruses that we were killing. She ended up working till 5 in the morning, because she had been teasing the viruses for 2 years. Yes, we have frequencies. Yes, we can kill them. But if you're going to just tease them, you are going to have a healing crisis. Believe me, you will. But if you make sure they're dead, then they're dead and they're gone. How do you do that? You go to the yes/no questions in NLP and you ask, is the virus found at XXX on the main matrix living in the body? And it'll say yes or no. And the body knows, believe me, the body knows. We're talking to the unconscious of this person. It knows everything. And it will tell you. And if it says no, zap it again. And this is the power of and the other thing we have to really pay attention to is the power of the unconscious versus the conscience. If we go in thinking that we know everything, or just listening to our clients and the medical community and so on, instead of paying respect to the unconscious, we're going to have trouble, because the unconscious is telling us. The skio is telling us. It's getting all of the information from the skio, and that's why it's so important to make sure that we work that way. So I'm going to show you just an interesting example of this. I have 5 women come into my office. Oh, by the way, in the beginning I started with autism. And then other people found out I had the skio. At this point, I work probably 1/4 of my clients are autistic. I have anything and everything coming, and it's really been exciting. So I have 5 different women come into my office with all the same symptoms, every one of them. Discomfort after eating, abdominal pain and bloating, and hardness. It's like there was no softness to their stomach area at all, any of them. Constipation and or diarrhea, and you can have both of them. It seems to go back and forth at times. Fatigue, exhaustion, and the loss of menses. All of them had been going to doctor after doctor after doctor looking for answers. All of them had the same list of diagnosis. Depression, menopause, irritable bowel syndrome, chronic fatigue syndrome, allergies, and by the time they got to me, the doctor's admitting, I don't have a clue. Now I could look at these 5 women and I could say, okay, this is it. I've got a protocol for you that looks after these things, and I can push the buttons, or I could follow the lead of the skio. And so I did the other. And what did I find out? Here are the blockages to the flow of energy for these 5 people with the exact same symptoms. Number 1, she had the measles virus living in the intestinal system. How many of you know who Dr. Wakefield is? Anybody? My very good friends. Dr. Wakefield is a medical doctor from Britain. He is a bowel specialist. He was studying irritable bowel system syndrome in children. Up until 1970, there wasn't a single documented case of irritable bowel syndrome in children, not one. And in the 90s, he's looking at this and saying, how can we have missed it up until 1970? And then the next question is, what happened in 1970 that might have made a difference? And so we started looking at that and discovered it was the implementation of the MMR, mumps, measles, rubella vaccination. He wrote a paper suggesting that perhaps we should look at this and see if there was a connection between the MMR and an irritable bowel syndrome in children. It was published in The Lancet, and parents of children with autism started arriving on his door and said, my child has bowel problems, and they started after the MMR. And he said, I'm a bowel specialist, I know nothing about autism. You know, go find somebody who knows about autism. And they kept coming and they kept insisting, and being the doctor he is, he finally said, I have to listen to these parents. And so he did a study with 12 children with autism. But they also all had irritable bowel syndrome. And they also had video showing that before the MMR, they were healthy children. 12 children. Every one of them had live measles living in their intestinal system. 100%. We don't get that in scientific research. Since that time, he's lost his license to be a doctor. He's been hounded out of Britain. He is, if you listen to the media, the worst man on the planet. He never said autism is caused by the MMR. He said irritable bowel syndrome is due to measles living in the intestinal system, right? Will you hear this on the media? No. But that's the truth of our world. Because I'm an autism specialist, and because my answers to anything else I looked at was no, and I looked at that irritable bowel syndrome and I said, what if it's the measles? This is a 65-year-old woman who has been in pain and in doctor's offices for 30-some years, has taken every medicine they handed her, has never had help. I asked if it was the measles virus. She said, it said yes. I said, we're booking another appointment. You come back next week. You book the whole afternoon off, because we're going to sit here and we're going to kill that measles. And we're going to sit here that long. Now, one of the people said, you know, I charge $100 an hour and you have to ask if you want to continue, right? When I'm working with any of this, boy, they need to, I mean, they do know that they are going to pay for how long they sit in the office, right? And she came in, we put on the scale, we start killing the measles, we take out the cards and play cards until it's done. She walked out of my office. She's been pain-free ever since. One session. The next person. These, by the way, are video. These are not my clients. These are beautiful women from the internet. I thought I should let you know. The little boy is my client. I have permission to use his picture. Had parasites. So we had to find out which parasites. We had to kill the parasites. Now, there is a fallacy about parasites out there, and that is that they are all hatched during the full moon. This is a fallacy. Yes, some parasites hatch during the full moon, but not all of them. Some of them hatch during the new moon. Some of them hatch whenever they want to. So you got to figure out, number one, if they, after you've cleared the parasites, you have to figure out if they are living in the body, if there are eggs in the body, because we can't kill the eggs, right? So we have to wait until they hatch, and then you have to book an appointment right after. So that, for example, if they are full moon parasites, I book an appointment the day after the new full moon. So we get them as babies before they can lay any more eggs. If it's the new moon, the day after the new moon. If it's whenever they want to, it's next week until we get them, right? They have a session every week until we kill them, just to make sure that they're gone. The next woman, genetics. And this was an interesting one because you don't think that genetics can cause all these problems. But when we went in and asked the questions, and it came up genetics, she immediately said, you know, when you think about it, I had this problem ever since I was a baby. And my father had it too, right? So we did the genetics program. I'm hoping to find time to show you how to do that one fast this afternoon. We'll get to it. The next person, anger. Beautiful, beautiful woman came in. One of the top real estate people in our city. Lots of money, lots of class, looked absolutely gorgeous. Sat down in my chair, gave me the list of her symptoms, and I tested her, and the whole read anger, 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 anger. And I said, it seems to want to work on anger. Oh, no, don't worry about that. Just fix my stomach, basically. Okay, I am responsible for myself. She is responsible for her. Now, I knew perfectly well that I could not fix her if I ignored the anger. But I had to respect her choice. And so I followed her lead and did what she wanted. She phoned the next week for another appointment. And again, anger, 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 anger. I think it wants to work on anger. No, it helped a little bit, so I think you can do more, so work on my stomach. Okay, away we do it again. Third session, exactly the same. The fourth session, I could hear her coming down the hall. She was mad. She strode into my office on those stiletto heels, bang, 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 threw herself in the chair and said, I'm ready to work on anger. And I said, okay, let's go. And we used the model of self to figure out where she was on the lifeline. What had happened to her is that she met a young man. When she was a musician, she met a young man when she went to university, fell in love, married him. His mother was a real estate agent, did not believe that music was a good, worthwhile occupation, convinced her to join her in her firm. In time, she divorced the husband, but got stuck with the mother-in-law because they had this really, really big real estate firm. And spent her life covering up her mother-in-law's dishonesty. And this morning, that had reached a breaking point. So we worked on anger on the scale for that whole session. We ignored the rest of it. We sent her home, and I never saw her again. The other thing is she had remarried. She hadn't had a menses in years, 3 or 4 years, and she wanted to get pregnant. About 3 months later, she phoned, and she said, I just want you to know that I didn't appreciate what you did for me, but I didn't need you anymore. All of my digestive issues are gone. My menses returned, and I'm pregnant. And that's what anger can do. And the last woman, cancer. And yes, cancer can be a problem too. But cancer can also be worked on our scale, and I don't know how many of you know the cancer protocol, or how to follow all the cancer stuff, but it's here, it's strong, it's, the important thing to realize is that cancer is caused by a virus, trauma of some sort, so it could be toxins, it could be injury, it could be all kinds of things, and emotion. And if you don't work on all three of them, you're going to be in trouble, right? Remission to cancer is because usually the emotional cause of the cancer is not being eliminated. If you go on the degeneration panel on time therapies and work on degeneration on there, and it comes emotional lesion is not, is still there. I don't know the exact words. You have to work on the emotions. Some people don't really want to. They're called males, but we can make them do so. So I'm going to just give you a quick look at what is autism, just because it's on the piece of paper and I think you need to know this. And then I'm going to put you on the scale and show how to follow the lead of the scale, okay? So the criteria for diagnosis. So this is if you take your child in to get them diagnosed, this is what you're going to get diagnosed as. There is an impairment in communication. In other words, they may be totally nonverbal, or they may not be able to talk in a way that actually is conversation. There's an impairment in the ability to interact socially, so they have trouble getting along around with people. And they use the restrictive and stereotypic repetitive behaviors, interests, and routines. In other words, they use coping skills to reduce their anxiety. Do you understand that part? The last one isn't autism. The last one is anxiety, right? If you look at autism from the viewpoint of people on the spectrum, they will tell you there is a wall within that blocks them from communicating or interacting like they want to. They know what they want to say to you. Everything's there. Their brains are working. The words are there, up here. They can't get it out of their mouth. It's a wall. Now, there's a lot of people that say that autism is mercury poisoning. It's not. People with autism can have both. But in mercury poisoning, the words are not there. You're missing the words. And I've talked to many people who've had mercury poisoning as adults, and they've lost the words. They're gone. Autistic people will not tell you that. They will say the words are all there. I can't get them out. There are neurological differences in our bodies that create heightened sensitivity to all sensory and emotional input. In other words, their bodies are working at an extreme for us, an extreme compared to us. They see better, they hear better, the tactile touch is higher, and so on. It's way above us. They have very busy brains that are constantly on the move and aware of everything is going on around them. It's amazing when you're with them and they see everything and they hear everything and they'll point it out, and if you're not paying attention, you realize you might be missing it, but if you're paying attention, they can show you far more of the world than the rest of us even pay attention to, because we're kind of lost in our own little box, but they've got it all. And the three factors here lead to high levels of anxiety at all times, and their main goal in life is not to be anxious, right? So that's what they work at, is to keep their anxiety level down. What did I discover with the skill? Autism is a genetic weakness to a virus or viruses caused by ancestral exposure to the specific virus or viruses, combined with exposure to that specific virus or viruses at a vulnerable stage in their life. In other words, an ancestor was exposed to a virus and weakened the genetics so that when the child is exposed to this virus, its body cannot fight it. The exposure leads to the storage of the virus in the body, which leads to a blockage of the immune system and the buildup of more viruses in the body. And they just keep building and building and building. It also leads to the development of a brain that is working at a higher level than normal, because our brains develop after birth through what we are actually exposed to in the environment. And in this case, they are exposed to stress because of these viruses. And a breakdown of other body systems, such as digestion, removal of toxins, allergies, and so on. What we do with the autism protocol itself is we clear the viruses from the body, often 100 or more. This is a big process. The change is amazing. And then we also work on the genetic causes to the weakness. In my family, our weakness is the flu. My father was born in 1918. I can guarantee you he was exposed to the flu during gestation. We have 3 people in our family who show autistic symptoms. The first is my 3rd son, born in 1971. He was a headbanger. I mean, as a baby, he would slam his head on the floor. He didn't talk early and so on. I don't really go to doctors. He grew up in a world where we treated him just like his brothers and so on, and he's doing well as an adult without a label. However, today, if he was doing this kind of behavior, he would have had a diagnosis of autism. I had the flu when I was pregnant with him, a very severe case of flu. My grandson, who is now 10 or 11, when he was born, when his parents were pregnant, at Christmas, they both had the flu so bad they were walking around in housecoats, mumbling through the whole season. In June, when he was born, he started showing autism symptoms right away. We didn't have the skill when he was born, but once we got it, we didn't know what we were doing. So he was not cleared until he was 3 years old. So he had a bigger weakness because of that. My next grandson was born in 2012. Now, in 1990, when I went out on the stage like this and talked about autism and the sensory system working at a higher level, I was mocked. I was told I was stupid. I was told I was giving people hope that they shouldn't do and so on, because nobody knew this about autism. In 2012, I walk into a hospital to see my grandson. The doctors have him in a separate room away from everything. They have him in an incubator, which he didn't need to be in because of the incubator. He was in the incubator wrapped in blankets so they could protect him from noise, from light, and from the tactile system. I touch. Because they had seen how his sensory system was working above what it should be. And I'm standing there as the grandmother, thinking about all those years of pushing this idea and realizing that nobody knows who I am, right? And being so thankful that the doctors are finally getting it. We went home, we put him on the scale, we said, does he have autism? It said yes. 6 weeks later, he was cleared. He has never shown signs of autism. Now, Mom didn't have the flu. What went on here? This is the puzzled grandmother. Mom works in a hospital. They made her get the flu shot when she was pregnant. When she was pregnant. Now, she didn't know about the flu weakness in the family because she was rather new to our family and we hadn't talked to her about it. But how many other mothers who don't know about this? So anyway, the viruses can be any of the viruses. Different families, different viruses. Polio is the hardest. If you have ancestors with polio and you give a child a polio shot, they are probably the ones that are going to not talk. They're going to be the totally nonverbal ones. Flu virus is kind of an easy one to clear and so on. Epstein-Barr is very interesting because a lot of women have Epstein-Barr living in their wombs. So if you find a family or a mother that's had many miscarriages, and then they have one child with autism, it's because the miscarriages are because of the Epstein-Barr has killed all the babies, whereas this one child got through, right? So on. So anyway, what happens when we do the protocol? That wall crumbles. The man that I did, who was 45 years old and started talking, what he said was, it was like the Berlin Wall. All of a sudden it was gone. What? Oh, sorry. He said it was like the Berlin Wall when it came down, but it was inside him, right? And then he could talk. Yeah. So basically, when we do the autism protocol, we do not work on all that other stuff that I mentioned, right? The immune system, the sensory system and all that, we have to work on that too. That's over and beyond, and that's why it's so important to have the whole picture, not just a little bit of it. Now I'm going to go on to the scale now, and I'm going to, how much time do we have? 25? Whoa, this is going to be some session. Hey, a 25-minute session. What? 45. Oh, 45. Oh, that's what Desi does all the time, isn't it? I was going to ask somebody if they wanted to come and we'd find a problem for them. I decided when I looked at the amount of time we have that I would just put myself on and go quickly through and show you what I look for, because we're not going to have a time to do a full session. Yeah, you have to come up here and ask the question unless you can really yell loud. What? It's okay? So I didn't... Excuse me, my nose is plugging up. What's that now? Oh, shoot. What do you think we can do here? Does anyone recognize this little... Oh. Why is that one up? Okay. Just a second. I've got to see if I can get at this. Okay, let's get down here. And this one. Turn this one off. And this one. Turn this one on. Is it on now? No. Okay, I was going to go back to this PowerPoint, but I'm going to finish it up just for you, just because of the fact I can't get rid of it. These are two quotes. These are two quotes from people with autism I just got recently on Facebook. And I just thought they were really important to share with you. So one of the things is, what is the most important thing we can do for people with autism? And that is to give them a means of communication. And this young girl, I think her name is Sydney, says, not having words blocks your innermost desires, not being able to share, right? Not being able to communicate stops dreams from coming true. Lacking a voice locks a cage around your life. Now, she took RPM, which is called Rapid Prompt Method, and learned how to type. And so now having the longed for means of communication, life is open to great joy, love comes pouring in, precious plans can be made, truth can be told, lessons learned and taught, and dreams that were once forbidden suddenly become possible. My dream as a young girl of 10 was to take ballet lessons. Because of the love and light I was given, because of my mother's devotion, and Soma's method, now Soma is the person that developed RPM, I realized that dream. So she became a ballet dancer. And that is the greatest thing we can give. There is, the idea of typing versus using our voice frees them to be able to share with us. And there is, for the ones that have big problems, RPM, which is rapid prompt method, and facilitated communication, which is using our energy to help them remove the blockage, will give them the way a way to speak to us. And so if you're working with anyone with autism, communication is the most important. Whoops, oh, that's a backspace. This is Nick. Nick has just recently learned how to type. And now this is something that Nick tells us. And this is not only coming from Nick, this comes to me from autistic people all over the place. The whole world is going to change. We will be able to communicate without speaking. In a new world, we will not need to have voices. Understand, I know there will be bad things, but there is a happy ending. Understand that we came here to show you another way to communicate that dares to be silent. People with autism can read your mind. They read each other's minds. I can sit with them and I can ask questions in my mind and they can answer them. Now, I can't read their minds, but they can answer the questions I'm asking. So when you're with them and you're treating them like they're mentally retarded, they can read your mind. But they also tells us the changes are coming. The world is not going to be a better place for a while. But when it is over, we're going to have a good world. And so that's the seeing the future that they do. Now I'm going to try turning this off and seeing if that is going to help the scale work, because the scale has stopped working on me. Heidi? Katharina? Katharina, come here. Well, just put this up there. I don't know why I can't do it. There, click it. Close. Up. Woo! Okay. Now we'll see if this works. I hope it does. Okay, now I didn't do the test because I wanted to show you, number one, what I do is the, sorry. I didn't do the test because what I wanted to show you was how I come up with the things. If I have a client that comes into my office and says, I have such and such a complaint, I will put it in situation hold. And when I did the test up in my office, my situation hold was there. But then I came up here and hook it to the projector and it disappears. But I always do the situation hold for people so that you can actually see. So for example, if for me I was going to put this plugged up nose and the sneezing I'm doing on, but I can't do that. So I'm going to test without doing it, if I can find the test. There it is. How come? Does anyone see test on there? Got it. Okay. So basically, when you follow the lead of the skill, it is going to lead you to the problem. if you pay attention. And the very first thing you pay attention to, of course, is the Varhoop. So if you look, I have 85, 85, 82, 78, 75. Does anyone not know what those numbers are when I read them off? Everybody knows what that means, right? That's the Varhoop. So basically, I'm not showing anything really extreme there. But I will pay attention to that when I am, to see where the body needs me to work. Proton pressure, electron pressure, pH, I've got a 72 and a 68, which tells me I'm quite alkaline. I have a feeling that's because I haven't been eating a lot because I'm all clogged up, but I'm not sure. My cellular vitality is 10, 6 is normal, under 6 is physical, under 3, 3 and under, chronic physical, and over 6, emotional. And so basically that's giving me a clue I should look at emotional. If I look at resonance frequency pattern, this is a big number when it comes to autism because it tells you how fast the brains are working. And when I first started working with autism, I realized that every one of them had a resonance frequency of over 20,000 or more, usually 25 to 30,000. And so it was this clue right away when I get a client, if I saw this resonance frequency pattern that high, then I might be looking at autism. Then they came out with a new program in 2011, and all of a sudden the resonance frequency didn't work anymore. It was coming up as 20s to 30s every time we put a client on. This was using the full sock. When you filled the sock out with all the numbers, we were getting numbers of 20, 30 all the time. I learned a new way of doing it shortly after that. Now, this is not to say that I do not do the sock with my clients and let them see the red flashing lights. But once the flashing lights have taught their lesson, I change it. And so right now, when I do my sock, anything that is a yes is 1, anything that is a no is 0. So, for example, do you have any organs removed? Yes, 1. We don't count the organs. Do you smoke? No, 0. And so on. And I fill out the whole thing. Mental factors, everybody has them. Yes. Fat in the diet, I hope so. Yes. 1. Sugar? No. Okay, 0 sort of idea. And by that, we got the resonance frequency back. Now, I don't know for the 14, because this was happening 11, the programs for 11, 12, 14, sort of. And so, if you see 25 to 30,000 with one of your clients, think about autism, even if they don't have a label. It probably is telling you they're full of viruses, right? Now, if you see the really big numbers, like 400,000, think of spiritual oppression, right? It's not usually autism when it's really big. Once I've done the test, the very first thing that I do after is I scroll up to the top and look at these numbers. Environmental, physical, mental, social, and spiritual. And the reason I pay attention to is because this is where the focus of blockages are coming from. And in the field of autism, it's really important, especially environmental, because I can tell you if you are in a mentally retarded classroom situation, I can do all kinds of things on the scale for you, but you're still going to have trouble in the real world, right? The environment has to be changed, and you have to be brave enough to say to people, it's an environmental problem, right? So I've got environmental at 98, physical at 86, mental at 84, social at 84, and 94 is spiritual. If it's over 100, I look at the highest number. If it's under 100, I look at the lowest. So for today, I would say mental and social, And considering the fact that I managed to pick up a nasty virus on the way here, I can see that that would make sense with me because I can barely breathe. So it's hard to be social. So that's the first thing I look at, and I note it on paper. The second thing I look at is, oh yeah, we're gonna do this now, don't we? Clay, can you come up and run this? My hand is shaking so much I can't run the mouse, is the thing, and it's got to do, it's not that I'm usually nervous or anything, it's just remove info. That's what we want to do, right? So the next thing I look at is the matrix and note, you know, how many reds we have and what are they about and so on, to get a slight idea of where we are going. But I don't pay a lot of attention to the matrix because I find there's many other things that tell us more. Okay, circle that. However, the four purple things at the top of the top right-hand corner there are very important to me. And so today we have organ system, EEG, EEC, we have degeneration, we have all clear, and then we have clear again. So basically, I track these down and I make sure that during the session I'm going to work on them in some way in every session. Because the scale is telling us that's what it wants to work on. Now, I don't know if you can click on that or not, that yellow thing. If you click on situation hold, does it click? Double click it? No, it's, if you click on situation hold, you will also have another clue coming up there. And often that is the best, for me, I find is the best clue that there is something to work on. And this is often where self-awareness comes up, right? That this person needs to become self-aware. My next step is to turn on the disease dictionary and then move over and look at Nelson report. Oh, it's okay, we're gonna do Nelson. What? Can you hear me? I mean, situation hold is down on the right-hand corner there, and there's you can fill it in. And if you double-click on it, it will have an answer underneath of what you should do, right? Yeah, so basically, if we go to the Nelson report, you will see an emotion that is blocking me, and today it's delusion. You can go and read it to your clients if you need to and show them. And we look at all of this. We pay I pay very close attention to the stressed organs. When I first got the scale, they told me 1 hour, 45 minutes to 1 hour. We can't do this in 45 minutes to 1 hour and do a good job. It drives you crazy. And so I did extend myself to 1 hour and then 1.5 hours. And by doing all of the work I do now, it gives me a chance to obey what the scale says and then do the other stuff. So what I do is copy the stressed organs and take them to hololinguistic and put them in there so that we are actually working on the organs that came up, right? I also do notes on all of this so I can keep an eye on what I'm doing. You have to go here. The problem with going on a projector is it makes your screen very small. So if you paste them in, make sure you put a space between the organs because we need 2 spaces between everything here. And this was not put on the Nelson report to copy and paste, right? When I do this, I also turn on the multimedia so that I protect myself, but being as I'm on right now, I don't need to. I note the ones at top to figure out which ones. And what we've got is automeridian and trivector. Automeridian, I find, is usually involved in organs. Autofrequency, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be going after pathogens. Trivector and DNA, of course, are energy and genetics. So that gives you an idea also where you want to work. Okay, we're going to close this out and go to risk panel. Oh, no, first, before I close out Nelson, I always read and or take the affirmations and put them in the orgon generator. You do not have to put them in the orgon generator to make those affirmations actually be part of your session. One of the first people I worked with was in Germany. I was in Edmonton. I was emailing her what happened each session. And one day I did a session on her, and it said, I will get along with the people within me, around me. What's that? It says that, you know, that you're not going to fight with the people around you, right? And it had this word. Anyway, I never had time to send her the report, and she was writing letters. This is back in the day before Facebook, so we had this letter thing going with all these people. And in every letter, she put that word 4 or 5 times, and she did not know. And she'd never used it before, and she never used it after. So we get these affirmations across the world, even if we didn't put them in. Risks. Here. Yeah, we borrowed a computer because carrying my laptop across the world is very, very heavy. So we've got food poisoning, oxidation, cognition in red, and the lower one you have to pull down. We have cancer, 71. No, I think we're missing over there, though. Inflammation, 57. So basically, I look at the numbers and work in over 100 or under 60 is where I really focus. If I don't have that, I work on top and bottom. So click inflammation. I only take 3. I know that people he took 10, and nobody does this wrong, by the way, right? It all works. There's no right or wrong, but I just trying to show you how I figured out. It's over there. No, this one. You don't look like you. Believe it or not, he does work on the scale every day. This is my husband, Clay, by the way. And when I got the scale, he supported me 100% with it. He supported me 100% with the work with autism. But he was very excited about it because he actually thought about this when he was in biology class in high school. I can guarantee you I never thought anything like this in biology class in high school, but he was thinking, why aren't we working with energy? Why are we working with, so he has his own scale and we work together as a team now. Oh, I don't do that. Yeah, well, you've done it now. Okay, he hit the virtual doctor for the top red. I usually don't do this right away, but when I do these things, read all the information. It's really important. It's telling you clues and stuff. And can you get it to the top? So for example, we have here, your client is thirsty and release the struggle. My affirmation is skin works perfectly and so on. Unconscious resistance to change, aging suppression, controlled diet, combination. So there's all kinds of clues here. One of the clues I want to talk about is change. No, clinging to the past. If you get clinging to the past up here, go to aging and work on past lives, because that's where you're going to release that. Hit it once. So it's done. Oh my goodness. It's got a pneumonia thing twice. Maybe that's what I have, hey? But I read all of this before I go and ask questions, sort of idea, right? Okay, close. What's done almost? Yeah, it's working its way down. Did you pick those up? Yeah. Yeah. No, it's working here. I don't know. It seems to be stuck. It wants my facial expression to look better. Now, as you can see, we don't have the scale worked up. I don't know how many of you know that the scales still work even if you don't have your box hooked up to it. If you have an indigo, this is not true. The indigos need the box. And however, it does free you to take the scale into places where maybe the box isn't appropriate. Most of our work in our office is done subspace. One of the reasons, of course, is because autistic people tell us that they are so sensitive that being away from the scale is easier on them. The other thing is we can work on people all over the world, and we do. Like I've cleared children in Australia and Saudi Arabia and Ireland and so on from Edmonton of the autism. It works really well. Back to universal. By the time I'm done this takes about 5 seconds, and when I'm doing it, except when I'm shaky like I am today, and I will have the top organs, the top risks, and the top emotions all in hollow linguistics within 5 minutes and going by the time I've got the computer going, session going, right? So that it's working really fast. Oh, you got it in there? Okay, emotion now. The last one we go is the emotion. I always make it very clear to my clients this is in the moment, but it is very interesting to see what comes up. If you go to mental factors and emotion charts and hit both value of emotions and value of neurotransmitters, and then put your emotions in the line and pick them up, you will also get the neurotransmitters for a later step. Now, if you've noticed, when you look at the matrix as we go by it, it has moved. The matrix floats. And if you pay attention to it and use the numbers that come up, it will keep floating and it will keep telling you places to go. If you ignore it completely, you will be missing a lot of information. So right now, we have 342, which is a kidney treatment coming up. If I do something about that, we will get another treatment later. You can also get treat it. You can also get go-to numbers here. Keep your eye on it because they will lead you exactly to where you want to go. That's a 7-second, I hope. Yeah, he had to go. How many noticed that Alexander had a go-to number all the time that he was up there? I'm already alarming, but that's okay. Yeah. Okay, now you got to glue the emotions in. Huh? You did that? Okay, now we go to shaping function, and if you look at shaping function, you will notice that all of the neurotransmitters that were coming up as a problem on the emotional page are now showing up on neurotransmitter on shaping function. Close. And here, If your numbers are in order, you haven't pushed the neurotransmitter page. If they are not in order, then you can use them. And you can just type in the numbers that are in front of there, and it will give you those. What? Well, that doesn't matter. The rest of them are. If you put these into the neuro things, number one, you will be giving them as a reward throughout the whole session. Number two, the word excellent becomes very important. When you get, we can't get at this to do it today because of the problem with the screen, but you have to disengage the love because it's the only one you're getting, and then engage the neurotransmitter numbers you put in. Every time you reach between 85 and 100 on the program for the rest of the day, you get a burst of these neurotransmitters that you need as a reward. And it will say, excellent. For the next 72 hours, whenever you hear the word excellent, you will get a burst of those neurotransmitters. So you have a way to keep on giving yourself skill treatments even after you're off. We worked on a little girl in Switzerland with autism, did the clearing, and told her parents this. And the days that we did her session, she'd get up and she'd run into the kitchen and she'd say, excellent. In English. The rest of the time she didn't talk English. What did you do to me? Oh, there it is. Lost us. Where are we now? What are you doing?
I'm trying to get you back. It's much easier when we have our own computers.
Okay, so how many people use the yes/no questions? No. Okay, because I'm going to show you how I use the yes/no questions, because I think that's the most important thing. He's going to get me on here as fast as he can. And so if you look on the rectification panel on that front page, there is the Dr. Nelson medical method. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah? We have that posted on the wall in our office because that's the way we are working. We are not working with, what do you call it? We are not working with symptoms. We are not working with diagnosis. We are working with blockages. And we start with the blockages in that, and have you got it? You just have to do fast track. You don't have to do the rest of it. You're worse than me.
Yeah, well,
click it. Click it. Well, that doesn't matter. So anyway, if you look at that list, that's where you get your questions. The women came in, right? With the same problem. Yeah, and I asked the question, going through that list of blockages, is the cause of the digestive distress the presence of a pathogen? I always start with pathogens because most of the time it is. If it says no, I will move down the list. Is the cause of the blockage genetics? Is the cause of the blockage toxicity? And it will tell you, yes or no, exactly where you need to go. And So you find something. Let's say it says yes to the pathogens. Now you've got to break down the pathogens because pathogens are viruses, worms, fungus, bacteria. And so then you have to break it down further and ask is it a virus? No. Is it a fungus? Yes. Now you've got one answer. So then you type, is it only a fungus? Saves you a lot of time, right? No. Where are you now? No, I want to go to the list. Oh, yeah. Oh, he's going to show you where the questions are. Yeah. Yeah? Okay, here's where the questions are, right? How many people use these? Yep, that's good. So close it and go to the list. Close. Close. Here. So we have stress, we have lack of awareness, we have heredity, we have mental factors, we have allergies, we have toxicity, we have trauma, we have pathogens, we have perverse energy, and or we have deficiency or excess of nutrients. And by using the yes/no questions and using only as the answer, you can actually figure out exactly what the problem is. So we're going to go and ask a question now. What? What?
You see now pathogens, deficiency or excess soccer, that whole, the 4, 5, what is it? After calibration, this always comes up.
Yeah.
You know exactly where you've got to work on. So you write it down, and then you can ask. So that might go.
We have a very wise woman here who's saving us time. She's telling us, look at the line in the middle. It'll save you time asking these questions. Yeah. Well, yeah. The thing about it is, with the symptomatic and the constitutional, as you know, I mean, as you will see if you look at the Nelson medical thing, we don't even concern ourselves about that until we remove the blockage. So we basically, because we are stress relief, just work with the top. And we're finding extremely good results with that. But yes, you were yeah, that's really good. Okay. It's already there. Those, yeah.
Yeah, they also say don't go to that right away either. Work for a while before you go to it.
Yeah. As you work on the thing, you will usually find at the end of the session this is clear. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, now could you close that without closing everything? Oh, it's down. I can't do that. You can't. I don't think it'll work. No. Here. Can you get this down? Pull this down. But does anyone know how to get out of this screen? Is there another close? There's a close at the bottom, but we can't get at it. Oh, if we close this, yeah. No, that's going to close the whole skill. It's already did that. Can you pull it up higher? No. Oh, wait. Yeah. I don't know. Here, you go away. Okay. No, that doesn't do it. Does anybody know computers? What? Oh. I love you.
It isn't going to get me a close.
Oh, we'll do it and see what happens.
It won't do anything. The screen's too small.
Yeah, it's
I know, it doesn't go.
it's because the maybe we turn off the projector. Ridiculous. Okay. Oh, now it's working, so that's not going to work either. Yeah, no, it's not helping. Okay. How many people know how to work on past lives? Okay. We got to get out of here. He's going to work on getting out of here. I think he's going to push the X, but I don't know. The thing that you have to learn about past lives is you follow the instructions on it. You go on aging, you click on the atom a whole bunch of times, you put in a what do you call it, conflict of some sort, and just follow the instructions. And then keep on clicking on it until it says it's corrected. The big trick to it is that it may not say it's.
I tried that.
Huh? We got it. Okay. So we're going to go on test. Close. And program. Question. NLP. I'm not on NLP. And questions. And unconscious reactivity. So now, when I was in risk, it said that it was pneumonia, right? So we're going to ask that. Is the cause of my sinus blockage a fungus? Because that's what it came up with, right? Now that I got from risk. And it will tell you. This is my body, my unconscious, talking. When we ask these questions, it is your client's. Okay, try bacteria. Oh, maybe put that. I have a feeling I might be allergic to my room here too, because I sneeze there, I don't sneeze here. Yeah. Yeah, path. Here, okay. Okay. Again, yeah. Mm-hmm. But by using the questions and using the only, you can break yourself right down to anything. Oh, it's not a pathogen, so an allergy then. Am I allergic to my room in this hotel? Is probably the question, right? But, no. Now, I will tell you about a situation we had in Romania. They asked me to teach, and so I taught this very short course. And we did this, and we had this man who didn't own a skill. We didn't know that when he signed it, when he said he wanted us to work on it, him. But I wanted to show subspace, so we didn't hook him up. And we just put him on, and we were going to find out what was wrong with his sinuses and stuff. And it came up with an allergy. Well, my goal for the day was to teach him how to kill a pathogen. And it wasn't It didn't come up with a pathogen. So I said, what are we going to do? Oh, I know what we'll do. We'll kill a parasite, because everybody has parasites, right? He came up with one parasite, and everybody in the audience went, huh? Can't be working. It can't only be one parasite. So he's sitting there in the desk, and I'm working on him. And he said, what's going on? This feels exactly like Hulda Clark's parasite killer. He could feel the parasite dying in the same way. And the reason he had one parasite is he'd managed to kill all the others off with Hulda Clark's machine before. So it works kind of neat that way. Only an allergy, yeah. We don't need an N for it. So we're going to ask if it's only. So let's say I've got the autistic kids on. We found out that it's viruses, and we go and ask the viruses. We have a virus sheet that goes for 6 pages now? About 6 pages, solid, of the viruses that are on the scale. Every time a new program comes out, Clay goes through every matrix number to find out if it is an actual virus. And they are added to our sheet. And we go and find out that way, because you can get whole lists of things. So it's only due to an allergy, so I've got to figure out what I'm allergic to here, is what I have to do. I'm not going to do that today, of course. I'm going to show you clinging to the past, because I think it's really important. Very important for autism, but also very important for most people. I'm not doing too bad now. Come on, where is aging? You do know, how many people know that the atoms all hide something? These atoms, they all hide something. Some of them take a long time, some of them only take a short time, but this is what the past life program works on. I'm just going to type allergy in there because of the fact that that's what we found. And we hit the start unconscious search. Very, very powerful program. All of my life I juggled money. I think if you read Ask and It Shall Be Revealed, I did this. But all of my life I juggled money. I'm really good at it, I can tell you. But I got kind of tired of it, so one of the first things I worked on here was poverty for myself. Since that time, as you can see, it's a correctable personality flaw. It has all kinds of information, and it has a release conflict button. Hit the release conflict, and it starts working on it. After I did that program, I have never gotten a bill in the mail that I didn't have the money in the bank to pay. Never. It's amazing when you're a juggler that you can, it's just there. It's not that I've got lots of money, but it's always enough to pay the bills when they come. So now we have a difficulty in procedure, but we just release the conflict again. A social crime has been detected. 1076, female in financial and business in Africa, and sadness is the emotion. As you continue doing this, other stuff comes up. Information keeps coming up. Are you hit? It isn't hit, is it? No. I hit it. Keep hitting it. Oh, very simple. It's corrected that fast. So I couldn't show you everything, but if you see at the top, there's a social concern. There are many different concerns that come up. Type what it is when it comes up, right? So for example, if parental concern comes up, type something about it. Always use your client's words. Underneath, another line will come up, and it is emotional. Put all the emotions in that can be tied to this, and it'll keep working. Now, also, sometimes it comes up with spiritual energies are present in red. If you look down, there's an alien detection pulse. You have to hit that to clear the spiritual energies. But this is really a powerful program for anything that you're hanging on to. So if clinging to the past comes up in your programs, use it, because this is where it's for. Okay? And I think we're running out of time because everybody's leaving. What else? Does anybody want me to show you something else? No, I want to show you information. I'll go to information. Whoops, you're on it. Off it. No, that's me, not you. If you go to information and load charts. Load chart maker color reports. Click on that. And it will come up with this screen. Oh, we lost our Nelson. You also always should do Nelson before this one. And we lost Nelson because we quit. But hit it. Yeah. And down to medical diagnosis. This will give you a pretty clear picture of your client right there. If you go to the bottom, the programs, and click down to the bottom, you can rectify all of this at once. Isn't that neat? Information column, load color maker chart reports, and down to medical diagnosis, probable medical diagnosis, and you can rectify the whole chart, all of this at once. Well, I want to show you the disease dictionary too, what Alex didn't show us. What?
Okay, I'll do it one more time.
Okay, information is the second column. Load, color maker. You're in the wrong one, yeah. Just click on the black.
Information.
Load chart maker color reports. It's L in the alphabet. This is an alphabetical thing, okay? Then now it's telling us to load Nelson, which we didn't do because we crashed there. Then load charts is the third one over. There's a whole bunch of charts, but the probable medical diagnosis, and then in programs is the rectification button. And it also gives you a pretty clear picture of everything that's going on. I have clients that come in with a cancer diagnosis. Cancer does not come up here. And then I'm not so worried about the cancer, because the body is telling us there's something blocking that's not the cancer, right? The cancer is a result of something else, so we have to look at other things. Disease dictionary. I wanted to talk about disease dictionary because a lot of people don't know about this part of it, and it's pretty exciting to me. The first time I learned about it, I was working with a mother with autism, and just go to the, just wait there. I was working with a mother with autism, and she was in Texas, I was in Edmonton, and she said, she wanted to try the skill before I worked on her son. And so I put her on, and I clicked on unconscious choice, and it came up with something, and I don't remember what it is, but it did teach us, so you got to find it. Esophagus right here. This one's working on my esophagus, and I agree that that's a bad thing. Here. So anyway, esophagus. I had just learned about this. So the second step when you find this is to go to possible mental cause. Click on that, and it will give you a cause for the problem. My cause for this esophagitis, which is the esophagus, right? Strain, mental load, self-punishment, anger, incorrect creative expression. She had an autistic child. It came up for her, I don't remember the disease, but it came up, child is unwanted. And I looked at that and I just, oh no, how am I going to tell her this, right? The rest of the session really didn't show us anything that stood out for me. And after the session was over, she phoned and she said, "What the hell did you do to me?" And I took a deep breath. And I said, well, I worked on this thing on the disease dictionary, and I remembered what it was at the time and told her. And I didn't really understand that, but it has a mental cause, and the mental cause was the child is unwanted. And she said, oh my goodness, I was adopted when I was born. She was the unwanted child. That session gave her back her biological mother. She got in touch with her, changed her whole life. She now owns her own skill, right? But these mental facts are really powerful. So when you're going on the disease dictionary and using unconscious choice and it doesn't make sense to you, look at the mental cause and look at the affirmation, because those really make a difference, and you can run them in the background as well as what Alex was showing us, right? Yeah. What's the affirmations? We always do the mental cause and the affirmation before we do the treatment for the actual disease. My life is gentle and harmonious. I love myself with tenderness. So isn't that nice? So anyway, we always do them before we do the disease dictionary, and often the disease dictionary has dropped from 40 minutes down to 1, right? Because a lot of these diseases are mental causes, and boy, you get into a person like you wouldn't believe. Okay? Yeah. We're 15 minutes over. Does anyone know if we're going on a night ride tonight? Does anyone know if that happens? Is happening? There is? And does anyone know it when it has to be? At 7? Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to let you ask questions now because I've got lots more to teach you, but we kind of screwed it up with crashing and stuff. So if you want to come and ask questions, we'll give you this thing so everybody can hear them. Now, I do offer workshops on the autism protocol. They are 5 days long. There isn't a single person that has taken this who hasn't said it needs to be longer. But how can we give up more than 5 minutes? 5 days is our big problem. And so I also offer them one-on-one on the internet, and I teach anywhere in the world. The Just So Happy, the green books out there, give you an idea what autism is. They also have very good instructions on, not on the protocol itself, but on how to work on the comorbids with autism. Because once you get the viruses out, and once you've got the genetics worked on, then we also have to clear the comorbids that happen, and that's all in the Just So Happy book.
Hi, my question is, first of all, that about the virus. You put very much point on the viruses, and you just do the simply zapping, or you do anything else from the program? So use any other programs to kill the viruses?
Oh, the viruses we kill just by zapping. So
Zapping?
can you go and find some viruses?
Okay.
We're going to show you how we kill viruses. Here, close first. Just go on the line. Number one, we put autism in the yellow hole tray, right? We put the genetic miasm in the pink hole tray. First we find out which miasms are involved. We put them in the pink hole tray, and then we go to the virus and we run it against the virus. So, autism. And let's say miasm, right? We're going to do the allergy miasm just because allergy has come up. Okay, hit them. We've got the viruses in from the filter. And it's come up with viral fuge. It's come up with grip, V2, flu virus, and another treatment. So then we go to the yes/no questions, and for V2, what's this one? What's the one with the dark blue on here? Okay. The matrix number, 1932. Then we go to the yes/no questions. Is the item found on 1932 on the main matrix living in the body? And it'll tell us, right? We collect 10 viruses, and can you go to the, yeah, you can put that in here. Let's see that. What was the number? Do you remember? 1932. Is the item found on, no, at 1932? Yeah. Oops, I did it wrong. 1932 on the main matrix. Living in my body. I'm just going to try living in my body. But you can also ask here one of the causes of autism, right? You can do with this with any of the bugs, any bacteria, any pathogens, and so on. This is how you find them. Yes. Okay, how do we kill it? Close. Close. We take down the information. Up. Yep. Go back. Take. We empty it to start new. Okay. Then we pull it into the information. We usually have more than one. So we do 10 at a time when we're doing autism. And then we autofocus SAP 9 minutes, load report, SAP for 9 minutes. We SAP for 9 minutes 5 times because we have found that it takes at least 45 minutes to kill these. SCIO time, because if you've ever noticed, our 9 minutes is not regular 9 minutes. It's often 15 or something. But we're trying to do this as cheap as possible for the parents, so we don't go and ask questions until we've done it 5 times. And then we go and ask if it's cleared. If it's not cleared, we continue. If it's cleared, we ask if it needs to be exploded. Cleared means dead. Exploded means exploded, you know, all to pieces. Because some of these things are hiding somewhere else, and you have to explode them because the red blood cells can't harvest them. And we need to clear them, and we need to explode some of them because of the fact that they are hiding, and you're going to get that toxic result if you don't. Am I here tomorrow? Yes, I'm here until the end. Uh-huh. And I'll probably be healthy enough to talk to you. Because I have an allergy. Oh, well, of course. Oh, well, I'm willing, I'm here to teach, so this is what I do. Anyway, for teaching, I do the workshops, and if you want to bring me in anywhere, we go anywhere that people will want us. We need at least 10 students in order to make it worthwhile. And, but we will go anywhere. However, I do it one-on-one on the internet, and I'm teaching all over the world on the internet. You know, I just take over your computer and we do it that way. So I do have a website for that I don't have with me right now. The book, if you want the Search of Self book, you've got the website here, and my business cards are right here if anybody wants them.
Can I have another quick question?
Yep.
When you were working with the disease dictionary and you chose you were doing the unconscious choice and also the emotional reason, so where do you use all those informations? You can use you copy out for another program, or you just take it as an information?
When I'm doing the disease dictionary stuff, I just work on the disease dictionary with it. I don't bother doing it anywhere else.
So you don't do it one by one. Even you get any emotional result, you don't do the 3 minutes or I don't know how many minutes of treatment.
No.
Okay.
No. I follow the amount of minutes that they say. Powerful stuff. Absolutely wonderful. Now, a lot of it doesn't look like it makes sense, but believe me, the body knows what it's doing. Here she wants, you go and give this to that lady in pink. What? I haven't done a lot of stuff in the book because the book is not for skill practitioners as such, it's for parents and everybody. I didn't go into great detail in the book about how we do it on the skill. However, the skill is in the book. You know, like it is the story of how the skill works is in the book. And the comorbids are in the book for the skill practitioners, yeah.
Yes, the answer was yes for exploding it. What are you doing to explode it?
Once you've cleared it and you've asked the question, does it need exploding? The body can't get rid of it. So you just keep going with it, and you keep autofocusing, zapping it, and then ask the question again, has it been exploded? Until you get a yes, keep at it. And the thing about the viruses is, if you do them 5 times and decide, oh, I'm tired today, I'm not going to do anymore, don't ever do that. When you start on a virus, you make sure, or any pathogen, you make sure you've either cleared it from the body, and if it requires exploding, make sure that you've done them 2 steps. Because otherwise, like Gail said before, you're only teasing it, and it just makes it worse.
Thank you.
And the thing about it is, the viruses, once we clear them, they're gone until you meet them in the environment again. The bacteria, nasty little buggers. They keep coming back. So bacteria are not as good as the viruses. Parasites, if you clear them and you clear the eggs, they're gone, right? So different things have different stuff. Bacteria, I haven't really figured them out completely yet. Okay.
If you start on this process, is the rectification enough, or do you have to ask the question each time?
I ask the question for every item all the time to make sure. It's very detailed, but believe me, it works. It works, yeah.
Okay.
I'm quite willing to talk to you individually or work with a group of you and add some more what I missed. And here, she's sneaking on. You could, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm quite willing if somebody arranges something in the group, or if you want just to meet with me as a small group or something, I'm quite willing to do with whatever we need to do. Yes? Just the scale? I can't hear.
They use herbs and things like that.
I am a family therapist, which makes, you know, for me, in Canada, as a family therapist, I can't be going around telling nutritional advice and all of those things legally. So no, I do say, you know, I do share what works, you know, like my body likes this and so on, but I do give responsibility for my clients to find it elsewhere because as a licensed family therapist, I only have certain limits. So each person is different that way, yeah.
But quite often, parents will go out, or they started on herbs and things like that beforehand. So we don't say, stop, don't take them anymore, you know, yeah.
For myself, Nelson fatty acids.
Yeah.
One of the most important things for my body is Nelson fatty acids. I just bought 5 bottles of them here because we can't get them in Canada. I either have to get them from the States or when I'm traveling. So because they have all 88 of the fatty acids in them, they just make such a huge difference in my life. And so I don't really do anything else but them, actually. For autism, for detox, zeolite is great because these kids are so sensitive. If you give them anything other than zeolite, they'll taste it and they won't have anything to do with it. But zeolite is tasteless and odorless, so you can actually get it into them. So I do share that information with parents, but it's their choice, right? Yeah. Are we supposed to eat before we go on a ride, or are we supposed to ride and go without food? I don't. Or are we going to get food on the ride? Does anyone know the answers to my questions? What? Yeah. So I think we better close for today and eat.